My wife laughed that I was too broke to leave her. So I froze her cards, sold the house, and watched her beg her AP for rent. But my final move made her regret every word. Look, I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but after what went down, I need to get this off my chest. Maybe some of you have been where I am. Maybe you'll see the signs I missed for way too long. I'm Eric, 34, and until recently, I was married to Finley. 7 years of what I thought was a solid partnership. I work as a financial analyst at Brennan Capital Management, not Wall Street elite, but decent enough to afford a nice life. Finley runs Eternal Elegance Events, this high-end wedding planning company she started 3 years ago. When she first pitched the idea, I ran the numbers, helped her secure the initial loan, even co-signed when the bank hesitated. I was proud of her ambition. Funny how pride can blind you. Our worlds couldn't have been more different. My days were spreadsheets, market analysis, and client portfolios. Hers were venue tastings, floral arrangements, and champagne with clients who dropped 6 figures on a single day. At first, the contrast was exciting. She'd come home with wild stories about bridezillas and mother-in-law meltdowns, and I'd share my wins from navigating volatile markets. We balanced each other out, or so I told myself. The disrespect started small. Little comments at dinner parties. Eric's idea of excitement is finding a computational error, she'd say, getting laughs from her event industry friends. I'd force a smile, play along. Just harmless teasing, right? Then it escalated. At networking events, she'd introduce me as my husband who does something with numbers. Honestly, I don't really understand it, but it pays the bills. The way she'd wave her hand dismissively while saying it. The way her colleagues would look at me with barely concealed pity. But 3 weeks ago, she crossed a line I didn't know existed. The annual wedding expo at the Conrad Hotel. Black tie, invitation only, the kind of event where 7-figure deals get made over champagne. Finley had been stressed about it for months. She was trying to land the pharmaceuticals heiress, some girl whose daddy owned half the generic substance market. This contract alone would set Finley's business for the next 2 years. I wore my best suit, practiced small talk in the mirror, even researched recent wedding trends so I wouldn't embarrass her. When we arrived, she immediately distanced herself, working the room while I grabbed drinks from the bar. That's when I overheard it. Finley was standing with a group of investors, including this guy Leo Volkov, some hotshot real estate developer who'd been sending her referrals. She was pitching her expansion plans when one of them asked about her business backing. "Oh, that's actually a funny story," Finley said, loud enough for half the room to hear. "My husband Eric, he's around here somewhere, he thinks he's helping with his little spreadsheets and projections. It's adorable, really. He treats my business like one of his boring portfolios. Yesterday, he actually tried to explain compound interest to me, as if I'm running a savings account instead of an empire." The group laughed. She continued. "Between us? He's good with numbers but clueless about real success. I keep him around because someone needs to handle the boring stuff while I do the actual work. He actually thinks his financial planning, she made air quotes, is why we're successful. Men and their egos, right?" I stood there, holding 2 glasses of champagne, watching my wife publicly castrate me for sport. Leo was smirking, the investors were chuckling, and Finley was basking in their approval. I didn't make a scene. Didn't confront her. Just set both glasses on a nearby table and went to the bathroom to splash cold water on my face. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the man staring back. When did I become this person? The punchline to my own wife's jokes? That night, she came home glowing, talking about how well the pitch went, how Leo promised to connect her with more clients. She didn't mention her little comedy routine. Just kissed my cheek and said she was exhausted from carrying the room all night. While she showered, I did something I'd never done before. I opened her laptop and went to her credit card statements. Just wanted to see the business expenses from the expo, maybe understand what I was really contributing to. That's when I saw them. Luxury hotel charges. The Ritz-Carlton. The Four Seasons. All on nights she claimed to be at vendor meetings or late venue walkthroughs. My stomach dropped as I recognized the pattern. Every Thursday for the past 4 months. Thursday nights. Every single Thursday for 4 months. The charges ranged from $400 to $700, always premium suites, always including room service for 2, always with champagne charges. I sat there staring at the screen, my brain doing what it does best, analyzing patterns. The analyst in me took over, pushing down the husband who wanted to throw up. I grabbed my laptop and started building a spreadsheet. Date, amount, hotel, her stated location that night. April 3rd, $650 at the Ritz. She was supposedly at the Riverside venue until midnight reviewing layouts. April 10th, $475 at the Four Seasons. A vendor emergency with the florist. April 17th, $700 at the St. Regis. Client dinner that ran late. The lies were right there in black and white, organized in neat columns like a profit-loss statement of my marriage. I needed more than credit card statements. If I was going to do this, I was doing it right. Through my firm, I knew a security consultant named Ray who sometimes helped with corporate investigations. Discreet guy, former FBI. I called him the next morning from my car. I need someone followed, I told him. And I need it documented. Ray didn't ask questions beyond the necessary. $3,000 retainer, full documentation, completely legal surveillance. I paid from my personal investment account, one Finley didn't even know existed. For 2 weeks, I played the perfect husband. Made her coffee, asked about her day, even sat through her mind-numbing recaps of flower drama and catering disasters. Every Thursday, she'd kiss me goodbye with some excuse, and I'd smile and tell her not to work too hard. Ray was worth every penny. The photos started coming in after the first Thursday. Finley entering the St. Regis at 7 p.m. Then, 15 minutes later, Leo Volkov following. The same Leo who'd been at the expo, smirking while she humiliated me. The next photos were from 11 p.m., them leaving together, her hand on his chest, laughing at something he'd said. The second Thursday was even better. Ray managed to get shots of them at the hotel bar first, her wearing a dress I'd never seen before. They weren't even trying to hide it. The way she looked at him, I'd never seen her look at me like that, not even when we were dating. But Ray found something else, something that changed everything. Your wife and this Volkov guy, he said during our third meeting, sliding a folder across the table. They're not just having an affair. They're in business together. Inside were incorporation documents for a new company, Volkov and Associates Premium Events. Finley was listed as the creative director, Leo as the CEO. The filing date? 2 months ago. There's more, Ray continued. He showed me printed emails between them, obtained through publicly filed court documents from one of Leo's previous lawsuits, where his email habits were well documented. They were planning to poach Finley's biggest clients, transfer them to the new company, then shut down Eternal Elegance Events. The kicker? Since I was co-signer on the business loans, I'd be on the hook for the debt while she walked away clean. I sat there in Ray's office, looking at proof that my wife wasn't just cheating, she was planning to destroy me financially. You want me to keep surveillance going? Ray asked. 1 more week, I said. I need to know their timeline. That night, Finley came home talking about the pharmaceutical heiress's wedding. The contract was almost locked in, $500,000 event, her biggest ever. She was practically vibrating with excitement, going on about how this would change everything for her business. Yeah, I thought, looking at her across the dinner table. It would change everything. While she went to shower, I made a call to my grandmother's estate lawyer. Grandma had passed 2 years ago, leaving me $400,000 that sat in a joint savings account. Finley knew about it but never paid attention to it. She called it our emergency fund but really meant money I'll never let you touch. The lawyer confirmed what I'd hoped. With the right paperwork, I could legally protect that inheritance. I'll need to move fast, he said. Once divorce proceedings start, assets get frozen. Then we move fast, I told him. I hung up and heard Finley on a call in the bedroom. She was speaking quietly, but I heard her laugh, that specific giggle she used when she was being cruel. Thursday's perfect, she said. After the Wagner contract is signed, we can finally move forward with everything. The Wagner contract. That was the pharmaceutical heiress. So they were waiting until after Finley locked in the biggest deal of her career before making their move. I had maybe 2 weeks, 3 at most. I needed help. Real help. The kind that comes with a law degree and absolutely no conscience. Preston Webb was exactly that kind of lawyer. We'd met 5 years ago when I helped him hide assets during his own brutal divorce. Technically legal, ethically gray, exactly Preston's comfort zone. He owed me big time, and when I called him that Friday morning, he cleared his entire afternoon. She's planning to leave you holding the debt while she starts fresh with lover boy, Preston said after reviewing everything. His office overlooked the financial district, all glass and sharp edges, just like him. Classic asset strip. I've seen it a dozen times. Can you stop it? Stop it? Preston laughed. Eric, we're not going to stop it. We're going to let her think she's winning while we pull the rug out from under her designer heels. He laid out the plan like a general preparing for war. First, the inheritance. We'd establish an irrevocable trust, completely legal, that would protect the $400,000 from any divorce proceedings. The beauty was in the timing. If I did it now, before any papers were filed, it was just estate planning. What about the house? I asked. Joint asset, but you're the primary name on the mortgage. You can list it for sale without her signature. Price it to move fast, take a loss if you have to. Better to get 80% now than fight for 50% later. The business loans were trickier. My name was on them, but Preston found a loophole. If I could prove business fraud, like, say, secretly planning to transfer clients to a competing company, I could potentially get removed from the obligations. I'll need everything documented, he said. Every email, every text, every hotel receipt. What about recording her? In my own home? Preston's smile was sharp. One-party consent state. Your house, your office, your car, all fair game. Just keep it to common areas, nothing in the bedroom or bathroom. I spent that weekend installing voice-activated recorders in my home office and the kitchen. Tiny things, completely invisible, syncing to a cloud server Preston had set up. I felt like a spy in my own life, but the anger kept me focused. Finley barely noticed me that weekend. She was consumed with the Wagner wedding, taking calls constantly, sketching designs at the kitchen table. I made her lunch, brought her coffee, played the supportive husband while documenting everything. Sunday night, she took a call in my office. I was supposedly watching TV in the living room, but I was actually listening through my phone as the recording streamed live. Leo, baby, calm down, she said. Yes, Eric's an idiot, but he's a useful idiot. His credit is keeping the business afloat until we can transfer everything. My jaw clenched. No, he has no idea. Thursday night he actually asked if I needed help with the Wagner presentation. Can you imagine? Him trying to talk to sophisticated people about aesthetic choices? Leo's voice was muffled, but I heard him laugh. 3 more weeks, max, Finley continued. The Wagner wedding is in 18 days. Once that payment clears, we execute the transfer. The non-compete clause in my Eternal Elegance contracts doesn't apply if the company goes bankrupt, which it will once Eric's stuck with the debt. What about his grandmother's money? Leo asked, clearer now. He won't touch it without my permission. Too spineless. Besides, it's in a joint account. I can access it if needed. I smiled grimly. She had no idea the money was already moving, the trust papers already drawn up. Monday morning, I met with Preston again. He'd arranged everything, the trust was ready, the house listing prepared, new bank accounts opened at 3 different institutions. We scheduled everything for the day of the Wagner wedding. Why wait? I asked. Because that's when she'll be most vulnerable. Most distracted. Most public. Preston's expression was predatory. Her biggest triumph becomes her biggest humiliation. Plus, with all those society people watching, the news will spread faster than wildfire. I went home that night to find Finley in the bedroom, trying on a new dress. For the Wagner wedding, she said, spinning. What do you think? Beautiful, I said, and meant it. It would be perfect for what was coming. She smiled and kissed my cheek. Oh, I might need to stay late at the venue Thursday. Leo, Mr. Volkov, is bringing some international investors to see our work. Of course, I said. Whatever you need. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Ray, my investigator. Check your email. Now. You need to see what I found about Leo's wife. I excused myself to the bathroom and opened Ray's email. The subject line alone made my heart race. Leo's wife, Judge Elaine Volkov, Superior Court. The email was brief but devastating. Judge Elaine Volkov, appointed 3 years ago, known for harsh rulings in divorce proceedings. The irony wasn't lost on me. Leo was cheating on a woman who literally presided over cheating spouses getting destroyed in court. Ray had included her contact information and a note. She's got a reputation for scorched earth when crossed. Might want to keep this card up your sleeve. I saved the information and deleted the email. Another piece on the chessboard. The next 2 weeks crawled by. Every day, I refined the plan with Preston. Every night, I played the devoted husband. And every Thursday, I watched Finley leave for her meetings while I sat at home, preparing for war. The morning of the Wagner wedding arrived. October 18th. The culmination of months of Finley's work and weeks of my planning. Finley was up at 4 a.m., buzzing with nervous energy. This is it, she kept saying. Everything changes after today. She had no idea how right she was. I'll be at the venue all day, she said, gathering her things. The ceremony's at 4 p.m., reception until midnight at least. Don't wait up. Good luck, honey, I said, kissing her forehead. You're going to be amazing. The second her car left the driveway, I initiated the plan. 5 a.m., I called the credit card companies. Every joint card, cancelled. The business credit line where I was co-signer, frozen, pending removal of authorization. The customer service rep asked if I was sure. Financial fraud investigation, I said. My lawyer will be in touch. 5:30 a.m., the moving truck arrived. 6 guys, efficient and quiet. I'd already marked everything that was mine, my office furniture, my clothes, my grandmother's china she'd never let me display. They were in and out in 90 minutes. 7 a.m., met my realtor friend, Hudson, at a coffee shop. He listed the house at 20% below market value. Cash buyers only, quick close, I told him. I want it gone in 48 hours. That's insane pricing for this neighborhood, he said. It'll cause a feeding frenzy. Perfect. 8 a.m., the banks. 3 stops, maximum withdrawals from every joint account. $47,000 in cashier's checks, all legally withdrawn, all documented. The inheritance account was already empty, the trust funded and protected. 10 a.m., Preston's office. We reviewed everything one more time. The separation papers were perfect, not divorce papers yet, just legal separation with an exhaustive list of financial documentation requirements. The timing was crucial. My assistant will serve her at exactly 3:45 p.m., Preston said. 15 minutes before the ceremony starts. What about the other package? I asked. Preston handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was everything about the affair, photos, hotel receipts, the business and corporation documents, and a particularly damning photo of Leo and Finley kissing in the hotel elevator. For Judge Volkov? He asked. Special delivery. This afternoon. 2 p.m., I sat in my empty house one last time. The walls showed pale rectangles where pictures had hung. Finley's things were neatly stacked in the living room, her clothes, her personal items, her collection of wedding magazines. I'd left her mother's jewelry box on top, unopened. I wasn't a thief. 3 p.m., I drove to the courthouse. Judge Volkov was in chambers, her assistant said, not to be disturbed. It's about her husband, I said quietly, sliding the envelope across the desk. She'll want to see this immediately. The assistant's eyes widened. She took the envelope and disappeared inside. 3:30 p.m., I parked across from the Wagner venue, a massive estate in the hills. Through my binoculars, I could see the chaos of final preparations. Finley was in her element, directing staff, adjusting flowers, her phone constantly at her ear. 3:43 p.m., Preston's assistant arrived, briefcase in hand. 3:44 p.m., my phone buzzed. Hudson, 3 offers already. All cash, all above asking. You weren't kidding about the feeding frenzy. 3:45 p.m., I watched Preston's assistant approach Finley near the service entrance. Finley's face went from confused to furious in seconds. She grabbed the papers, reading frantically. 3:47 p.m., Finley's phone exploded with calls. She was trying to answer them while arguing with Preston's assistant. I could see her scrolling, probably discovering the frozen cards, the locked accounts. 3:50 p.m., a white BMW screeched into the venue parking lot. Judge Elaine Volkov stepped out, and even from a distance, I could see the rage in her walk. Judge Volkov moved through that parking lot like a guided missile. Her heels clicked against the pavement with military precision, and every staff member who saw her coming stepped aside. She wasn't heading for the main entrance, she was going straight for the service area where Finley was still frantically juggling her phone. I couldn't hear the conversation from my car, but I didn't need to. The body language said everything. Finley's face went from red to white in seconds. Judge Volkov held up what was clearly a photo, probably the elevator one, and Finley's hand went to her mouth. Then Leo appeared, probably wondering why his wife was there. The moment he saw Elaine, he tried to turn around, but she was already screaming. Not dignified judicial speaking, full volume, marriage-ending screaming that made the catering staff freeze mid-preparation. 4 p.m., the wedding ceremony was supposed to start. Guests were seated in the garden, a string quartet was playing, and the bride was probably wondering where the hell her wedding planner was. Finley tried to escape the Volkov drama to handle the ceremony, but her phone kept ringing. She answered one call, and I saw her whole body sag. That would be the business credit line administrator, confirming the freeze. 4:15 p.m., Mrs. Wagner, mother of the bride and the one actually paying for this circus, emerged from the main house. Even from across the street, her body language screamed fury. She marched toward Finley, who was now trying to manage 3 disasters at once. My phone rang. Preston. The house just sold, he said. Full cash offer, 15% over your already reduced price. Closes in 24 hours. Buyer waived inspection. Send the contracts, I said, watching Finley's world implode in real time. 4:30 p.m., the ceremony finally started, 45 minutes late. Finley had somehow pulled herself together enough to coordinate the processional, but I could see her hands shaking from across the street. Leo was nowhere to be seen. Judge Volkoff's BMW was gone, but the damage was done. I drove home, or what used to be home. The house felt like a movie set now, empty and echoing. I'd left Finley's things neatly organized, but I'd taken every piece of furniture except the bedroom set. She could sleep in the bed she'd made, literally. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Finley, the house closes tomorrow at noon. Your belongings are in the living room. The business credit line is frozen pending fraud investigation. Your cards are canceled. The joint accounts are closed. Your Thursday meetings weren't as secret as you thought. Eric. By 6 p.m., I was in my temporary apartment, a furnished rental downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I ordered Chinese food and opened my laptop to watch the disaster unfold on social media. The pharmaceutical wedding had its own hashtag. Guests were already posting about the drama before the ceremony and the wedding planner's breakdown. Someone had filmed part of Judge Volkoff's parking lot explosion. It was already at 50,000 views. 8:47 p.m., Finley called. I let it go to voicemail. Eric, what the hell did you do? The Wagners are threatening to sue. Leo's wife knows everything. I can't access any money. Call me back now. 9:15 p.m., another call, another voicemail. The house, Eric? You sold our f***ing house? Where am I supposed to go? This is illegal. You can't just cut off at the voicemail limit. 10:30 p.m., a text from an unknown number. It was Leo. You destroyed my marriage. My wife froze our accounts. This isn't over. I screenshotted and sent it to Preston. Evidence was evidence. 11 p.m., Finley again, this time crying. Please, Eric. I'm at the venue. The Wagners won't pay because the ceremony was delayed. They're saying I breached contract. I can't pay the vendors. My car won't start. I think you canceled the credit card for the payment. Please. Just call me. I turned off my phone and went to bed in my empty apartment, on sheets I'd bought with my own money, in a space where no one would ever mock me again. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls. But it was the email from Preston that made me smile. The Wagners are suing Eternal Elegance Events for breach of contract. They're seeking $500,000 in damages. Also, Judge Volkoff filed for divorce and requested an emergency freeze on all Leo's assets. He's been removed from 3 development projects pending investigation. Then came the knock at my door. I looked through the peephole expecting Finley, but it was a process server. More papers. I opened the door and accepted them with a smile. Finley was attempting to file an emergency injunction to stop the house sale. Too late. The closing was in 3 hours. Preston called while I was reading the papers. Judge Morrison threw out her injunction request. Apparently, Judge Volkoff had some choice words about your wife during her own filing. The legal community is a small world, Eric. What about the business loans? Beautiful news there. Since Finley registered the new company with Leo while still operating Eternal Elegance, it constitutes business fraud. You're off the hook for all debt incurred after that date. The bank's going after her personally now. 3 weeks passed. I'd settled into my new penthouse. Yeah, I upgraded from the temporary place once the house money cleared. Turns out, when you're not funding someone else's champagne lifestyle and paying for hotel rooms you're not using, money accumulates fast. My phone had been blissfully quiet for days when a text came through from Finley. Just an address and can we talk? It was a coffee shop in the Arts District. Not her usual scene, no valet parking, no Instagram-worthy lattes. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. She was sitting in the corner, and for a second, I didn't recognize her. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She wore jeans and a plain sweater, her hair in a simple ponytail. She looked exhausted. Eric, she started when I sat down. Finley. I'm working for Graceful Occasions now. As an assistant. She tried to laugh, but it came out bitter. They hired me because I know all the vendors. Ironic, since none of them will work with me directly anymore. I said nothing. The Wagners destroyed me. That lawsuit, they made sure everyone knew what happened. Leo disappeared completely. His wife took him for everything, and he blamed me. Said I pursued him. She stared at her coffee. I lost the business, the reputation, everything. You lost those things because of your choices, I said simply. I know. For once, no deflection, no blame shifting. I'm living with my cousin. Studio apartment. I take the bus to work. She pulled out her phone and showed me her banking app. $247 in checking. I'm not asking for money, she said quickly. I wanted you to know that I understand now. What I did to you. How I treated you. The Thursday nights, the mockery, planning to leave you with the debt while I started over with him. You understand because you're experiencing consequences, I said. Not because you had some moral awakening. She nodded slowly. Maybe. But I understand that you were never the joke I made you out to be. You were the only real thing in my fake world. And I threw it away for a man who was using me to get back at his wife, and clients who dropped me the second I became inconvenient. I stood up. Good luck with the assistant job, Finley. Wait, she said. How did you know? About Leo? The hotels? I'm good with spreadsheets, remember? Patterns, data analysis, trend forecasting. All that boring stuff you mocked me for. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of my view from the penthouse. Turns out, those skills compound over time. Just like interest. Her face crumpled. That's the Jefferson Tower. Those penthouses are out of your league now? Yeah. I put my phone away. You were right about one thing, though. That Wagner wedding did change everything. Just not how you planned. I left her there with her $4 coffee she probably couldn't afford. 6 months later, I ran into her at a grocery store. She was comparing prices on pasta, store brand in one hand, name brand in the other. She saw me and froze. I had a cart full of whatever I wanted, including a $200 bottle of wine for a date that night. Eric, she said softly. I nodded and kept walking. My phone buzzed as I reached checkout. A voicemail from Finley. I deleted it without listening and paid for my groceries. Outside, the sun was setting over the city. I loaded my bags into my new Tesla and headed home to my penthouse, where no one would ever call my success boring again. Revenge doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's just living well while they learn what they lost. And the interest on that lesson? It compounds daily. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.